Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show. Melissa, welcome to Consulting Leaders. Happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
It is my pleasure. Let's get straight into it. So you started as an occupational therapist and eventually gotten into executive leadership and consulting. What's the story here?
Yeah, I loved being an occupational therapist and working in nursing homes and helping seniors. But if you look at the statistics, the average lifespan of a therapist is about 10 to 15 years because it's just so hard on your body. And my body was showing the signs of having done it for 14 years. And so I reached out to the owner of my company and said, "You've been wanting me to come to corporate for a long time. I'll do it if we can work on me not having to travel 4 or 5 days a week." And she agreed to bring me up. So she kind of created a position for me. I became the clinical liaison for 2 contract therapy companies. And then she said, "I have this consulting company. We started it like 15 years ago. No one's ever really done anything with it. See if you can do something with it." And as I started to invest my time and my efforts, we have just grown and grown and grown from there. So now it's really become my primary focus every day.
So what is that primary focus in the sense of what's the number one problem that you solve, Melissa?
We're really trying to help senior living leadership and home health leadership resolve the misnomer out there that you can't make money and do good care. You can absolutely do both. They are mutually inclusive, and it's the best way to do things. It's the most financially successful over the long term to do things that way. And so it is our goal and our mission to solve whatever problems our clients have in senior living or home health.
And that's kind of alluding to the next question, but who is it that you help specifically? Like, who do you end up working with?
Yeah, a lot of times our initial engagement is with someone from the C-suite that's running one of these organizations, CEO, CFO, COO, and they sort of direct us on downward from there. And from that point, we're just working with either leadership on site or even front end workers because really it starts all the way there in order to get the right kind of documentation and put the right systems and processes in place in order to be able to achieve appropriate reimbursement while providing great care. So we really run the gamut of all the different people that work in these organizations, but our primary focus is with site level leadership and above.
And do you have, I love this. This is so, we see that you've already thought about all this and that you've done a very narrow targeting and positioning, which I encourage all the consultants listening to us do. Can you tell us a bit more about the industries that you target specifically? Like, is there a niche, an industry, a company size? Like, you talk to the C-suite within what context?
Yeah, so our sort of our niche, our favorite client to work with, not that we won't work with anybody else, but it seems to be what we find ourselves having the opportunity and privilege of working with most often tend to be single site organizations. So I am a home health agent. I am a home health company with one branch. I am a senior living community that has one campus, maybe 2 or 3. Right now, our biggest client has 6 campuses, though we've worked with clients that have far more than that and would continue to do so. What I love about working for these type of single site organizations, they're usually not for profit. They usually have a religious focus, and they're really all about the mission. What we help to do is refocus them on also attaining that margin to achieve that mission, right? There are so many in our industry in healthcare, especially in senior living, so many senior living campuses that provide outstanding care. They have 5-star reputation are going out of business because they just can't figure out how to make the money that they deserve for the excellent care they're providing. And that's where we come in. We help them connect those dots. We help them put all the systems and processes in place and give them the mentorship and training they need so that they get the reimbursement they deserve and they can continue to do the great work that they do.
Amen to that. Seamless transition into how we get into the room with those people then, Melissa. How do you market? How do you brand? How do you get the attention of those people that ultimately you can help?
I feel like that's the $1 million question that we're still trying to solve. We had a change in our marketing leadership in the last year and a half, and it has been exponential for our growth. We found the right talent, and it has been such a positive thing for our organization. But me and him have conversations all the time about where should we spend our time and our resources, our capital, to reach the right people. Pre-pandemic, expos worked really well. We would, you pay to play, you show up with everything that you need, you engage with people, and business comes your way. And I don't know exactly what happened in the pandemic, but that model just doesn't seem to work, at least not in senior living and home health anymore. And so we have found the most success comes from speaking engagements, and then also getting represented in the national industry media. For us, it's McKnight's or long-term care news or senior living news, making those relationships with them, being this critical resource to them. One of the best pieces of advice that I ever got about working with the media was never say no, always be an answer, no matter what they ask. Figure out how to get them the right answer. And, a lot of the work that I've done with that was in the pre-AI era. And so I would get questions about things that I knew nothing about. And I would have to figure out where the regulation was, dive in and do the research, and then strategically analyze and do all of that within about an hour or two, because, the press timeline deadline was coming. So that's been one of the most powerful tools for us as well. Times where we have been able to be quoted by the media has led to a lot of business for us as well.
I love this. But the second $1 million question then becomes, how do you get cited by medias? Melissa, how do you get your industry, your clients, past clients, the industry leaders in your space to talk about you? How do you deliberately and intentionally do that?
It's really about establishing relationships. And to be honest with you, the most success we've had is in the beginning having just one paid engagement. So whether that's some feature article they write, or you pay to get onto their podcast or whatever, now you've got a relationship with you. Now they see you as a client. And then every so often I just reach out and say, hey, I'm still here. I'm ready to answer any questions you have. Don't forget, I'm a PDPM subject matter expert. Or if I see things coming down the pike with regulations, I reach out to them and say, hey, did you see what's happening with PDPM Medicaid? I think this would be a great article for you. Here's 5 key points that I would make and my comments about each one. So I think that's a great strategy. Just positioning yourself as a subject matter expert. And even, one of the biggest editors in our industry reached out to me when his mom was going through hospital and trying to get into a nursing home, just to get advice about how to provide care for his mom, because he knew that I understood the industry and what was going on. So stopping everything I was doing to be that resource to him, I think really helped to strengthen our relationship. I think the other way that you can do it is the right kind of press releases. So we're really getting more into press releases that tout the successes of our clients, because that is our success. Our success is their success. So really being able to talk about incredible things that we have partnered together and pushing that data out, not just saying, hey, we did great, we made more money, but things like we doubled therapy margins in the first year by helping this client go in-house and get out of the contract therapy game.
What would be your advice for B2B coaching and consulting firm owners who, obviously, it all starts with delivering an excellent work, right? If you're not doing this, start there. But then when you want to market that, different options are available. How would you recommend consultants who want to get there, who has a flourishing firm, who is doing a great work, who's potentially even growing, has several acquisition channels, but now they want to get cited in the medias, they want the leading reviews and magazines in their space, talk about them. What would be your strategy, Melissa, if you had to do it all over again? How would you ensure, beyond delivering good work, that those people talk about you? Would you reach out to them? Would you write a guest post, article, blog, whatsoever? Would you contact their head of partnerships? Would you do so much noise in your industry by creating an audience of the people that they care about so that they talk about you? And I'm sorry, I'm answering my own question, so I'm going to pause here and let you reply.
I think all of the above that you said. One of the things we've had a lot of success with as well is I don't just target the industry, I also target vendors in the industry. So how can I be a resource to you as a physiatrist that wants to serve senior living communities, or a specialist that wants to serve home health agencies for a various purpose? And so if I can work with you to get your message out, I also get some of that exposure with you. And one of the best ways we've done that is to partner with these vendors, do research studies, produce white papers, and we always insist on dual branding. Our name and their name is on it. That gives us the ability to put that press release together and reach out to that national media and say, look at this. This is really exciting. I think your readers are going to want to hear it. And if they shoot it down, then I think the next best case is doing a guest post and seeing if they'll post it. And when I've done some of those, the first ones I did, I got rejected. I pushed back and said, could you please tell me what it is I could have done differently to make this work for you? And it turned out that it wasn't really the content, it was just the style I had written it in. And so being the kind of person that shows that willingness to, I want to give you what you want, just tell me what that is, has really helped to deepen those relationships as well.
That does make sense. Tell me how we move from that, from those citations, from those interactions, to a sales conversation, an SOW, a letter of engagement. What does sales motion look like for you guys?
I think the most important thing is about the first 10 minutes after somebody reaches out to you, whether that's email or on the website, or if they call me, I will get back to them as soon as possible. I will drop everything, because I know when I'm looking for an answer, I want an answer right now. I don't want to wait. And the first person that gets back to me, everyone else that gets back to me is competing against that person. So we have found that being Johnny on the spot, being the person that calls back right away, engages right away, and offers to meet with them right away too. So even if I can't meet today for some reason because I have other obligations, how can I meet you in the next 24 to 48 hours while this is fresh in your mind? You know you need to make a change. You feel motivated to do it, and you're ready to make the right kind of investment. We've also found it really helpful to just be a good value for us and for our clients for some projects, particularly in the home health space. Some people are out there and they have pockets that will allow them to invest in consulting, and some people really want to bootstrap it. We're probably not the right partners for people that want to bootstrap it. So sometimes it helps to just be upfront in the beginning and say, these are our typical costs for providing the type of services you're asking for. Is that in alignment with, your capital expectations and how you would like to expend your resources? So that helps us both to kind of save time. But getting on a Zoom with them as fast as possible, and anytime they'll let me meet with them in person, I always want to do that. I've found that almost 100% successful. If I can meet with somebody face to face or someone else on my team, and we can help them see the authenticity that we bring, the honesty that we bring, and the enthusiasm we have to help them reach their goals, they always sign on the dotted line.
I think this is kind of key. So I want us to double down a bit on this. So authority, trust, rapport has never been more important. And I think people recording the equivalent of podcasts 20 years ago were probably saying this. And it's still probably going to be true in 20 years from now. I think in a day and age where AI allows for anybody to claim anything on internet, regurgitate some ChatGPT content on LinkedIn, I think creating that rapport, that authenticity, providing the value, starting to provide the value during the sales cycle itself is how we're going to reinforce that trust, authority, and start delivering value to show that this is the real deal, so that you can then move forward into a dotted lines conversation. How do you retain after that, Melissa? So I think marketing, sales, pretty nailed down, but the money in consulting is retention, right? It's being able to take an initial engagement, over-deliver, and transform it into a potentially multi-layered, multi-year project with the same clients, because you keep on providing value, right? It's not just about billing the clients, obviously. It is about providing that value thanks to the initial engagement. How do you do that?
It's a great question. And I will tell you, I think this is something we've cracked the code on, because 100% of our clients come back for repeat business. 100%, every single one does more than one engagement with us. And so we really look to provide on-site services when we can. There's a huge value to Zooms and doing a lot of things remotely, and we do a ton of services remotely. But even, for example, when we help clients get out of contract therapy and go in-house with their therapy programs and senior living, we come on site at least once a quarter, forever, as long as we're in your communities. We've been in communities for 10 years since I started doing this for Gravity, and we're still going on site on a regular basis because it's so important that everybody on site knows who you are, knows you as a person, not just someone on a screen or someone from an email that might deliver news they don't always like sometimes or things like that. They know you as a person, and they break bread with you, and you have a chance to get that gut check in person. So I think in person is super, super important. Even some of the arrangements we have where I'm not the person that goes on site, I still make a point every single quarter to get on a Zoom with my client, chat with them, and find out what their needs are. What we have found consistently is they come to us for one need, and that's really our litmus test. How are you going to perform with this? And then most clients are really looking for a one-stop shop. What else can you do for me? If you did this well for me, I'm going to trust you to do something else well for me. And then if you execute that, it leads to something else, something else. And I think contract therapy, going in-house rather with therapy, is a really great example because, within a year to 18 months, you've done a lot of the lifting. A lot of the changes that need made have been done. And it's really about stabilizing at that point. So we need to continue to demonstrate what is our value to you as you move forward. We're not just therapy. We're going to help you with your PDPM rates. We're going to help you with MDS. We're going to help you with nursing process to make sure that you're getting the reimbursement you need. All sorts of custom projects that we do. So one of our mottos in Gravity is, what's your greatest problem? Yeah, we solve that, because that is our mission. We can customize, we can meet whatever the need is. And so we're always looking for the hints in what the client is saying about what their biggest problem is and how we can be that resource to solve it for them.
Amen to that. Let me throw a little bit of a curveball question at you, Melissa, because you've been kind of flying through this interview.
Sorry.
What's your number one challenge? What's the one, the one nut that you're trying to crack that, once you crack, you're going to take the whole thing to the next level? What would that be for you?
I think it's figuring out how to get in front of clients that would benefit from our services but don't know about us yet. We're not the largest consulting firm. We're not those people that are gold sponsors at the national conferences and all those sorts of things. So how do we help reach the people that need our services without expending a tremendous amount of marketing capital to get there? And, it's sort of the $1 million question. It's the thing me and my marketing person are working on all the time, because we want to be able to provide great services at a reasonable cost and be long-term partners. When you have a gold stand or a gold cost consultant come in, you want to get rid of them as soon as you can because they're just too expensive. So we like to keep our costs down, but for our clients, and that means we have to keep our costs down on the marketing side too. So really just figuring out what are all the things we can do for little to no cost, like create a podcast and then turn that into 30 reels and then post that on social media every single day. So every single day, this lovely face is going before our clients on social media and presenting thought leadership that might get their interest and just making them aware of who we are. So that's our $1 million question. Without having an unlimited budget like some of the huge companies do, how do we get ourselves in front of the right people? And it just seems like the answer is a lot more of the same. And also, we're trying to shift more into account-based marketing. So really identifying what's our ideal client profile, how do we reach them, how do we engage with them, where are they that they're going to be willing to hear what we have to say, and then how can we make those meetings happen?
Okay, I love this. Thanks a lot for sharing this, Melissa. This is so spot on. I think I'm talking to a lot of consultants and B2B coaches, and everybody's saying we need to automate more. We need to leverage AI more. We need to do more of the impersonal automated stuff, which everybody's doing, but nobody is in the how do we trigger conversations with our ICPs? How do we do account-based marketing? Which is, when you really think about it, in consulting, this is all there is to do. Like, we're not obviously not talking about the big fours or the big golden sponsors of the biggest conference, but we're not after 200 deals a month. We are after a few conversations, to trigger, a handful of proposals and sign 2 3 additional clients per month. That's what we're talking about as a boutique consulting firm. Now, of course, when you want to grow, you might want to do this and more, but like, this is what this is really about. Let's explore here. And obviously, it's not to put you on the spot. It's because I think consultant listening to us right now will be like, I have the exact same problem. I want to know how my peers are thinking about solving it. So purely, exploring. You mentioned podcast. I'm a huge advocate of podcasts, so I'm not gonna go down that route myself. But how are you thinking about solving the challenge of precise account-based marketing and triggering conversations with people that you can help, but that don't know you? How are you thinking about doing that?
Yeah, you mentioned AI, and I think it's the thing to bring up here. I think the mistake people make, and I think this is especially true in marketing, but I think it can apply to any part of our business, is treating AI like a robot and not a tool. When AI is a robot, we're expecting it to do our job for us. And that is when AI fails. I would rather write a white paper, submit it to AI, and have AI help me edit it and enhance it, rather than say, here's the info dump, you write it for me, and I hope you create something that sounds like it's in my voice and that actually sounds unique and special. So I think it goes the same way with marketing. We can't just say, go out and find us a bunch of clients. We have to constantly refine and hone the approach and use AI where we can to help us target those people. So once we've clearly identified our ideal client profile, our ICP, then we can put that into various AI tools and it will go find those people for us. But then we're still going to take our time to vet each one of those potential clients and say, is this the right fit? What are the angles that we can take to reach them? What is going to be probably the most meaningful thing? And I love to take not only their available profile. So obviously we all do our web research, right? But there's all sorts of tools on the Medicare side too. So Care Compare is one where I can go and look at all sorts of statistics about a nursing home and find out what is their star rating, how did their last state survey go, what types of complaints are they having, how are their quality measures, and what might that tell me about what some of their problem points are. For example, one of the quality measures is falls with major injury. So people that fell and broke a hip, hurt their head, something like that. And if that statistic is much higher than the state or national average, 100% of the time that I've been involved, that means therapy's not doing a great job. And so that's a great client for me to target the discussion about what you should do with therapy, doing a rehab audit, maybe thinking about going in-house and why that can make sense. So really using AI to help me target where my approach is, but then doing all my due diligence afterwards. AI really can't take the place of me and my marketing person, of our team doing what we need to do to make sure this is the right client and then tailor our approach to that specific client. So we're really much more about bespoke communication with clients rather than here's a huge email campaign. We're just going to send it out to everybody and hope somehow this sticks somewhere. But what are the specific pain points that person has and how can we reach them and demonstrate ourselves as an asset to them?
On the other side of the coin, what's the big opportunity that you see in your industry that you're looking forward to work on, Melissa? What's the one thing in the next 3 to 6 months that you're like excited to work on or tackle?
I think there's actually three things. So the first one I would say is PDPM Medicaid. And for your listeners who don't know a whole lot potentially about senior living, basically this is just the way they're going to pay for non-Medicare patients that live in a nursing home. And it's a huge paradigm shift. It took it from being therapy-based to being nursing-based for reimbursement. And most communities just aren't ready for this. And the end result is they're not getting the reimbursement that they deserve. And that is going to eventually trip them up from being able to serve the mission that they want to serve for clients. So really being a resource to them to sort of sound the alarm bell and say, hey, you're leaving money on the table. This is a huge opportunity. We can come in and help you with that. In line with that is also, we've talked about, we really help people get out of contract therapy. It made a lot of sense under the old payment structures. Now that we've switched over to these new payment structures, and this PDPM Medicaid was kind of the last nail in the coffin of really the huge value that contract therapy brought to senior living. And so contract therapy has been the default modus operandi in senior living for so long that most senior living leadership today wouldn't even think twice about potentially going in-house until they meet me, until we get a chance to talk. And I explain to them 100% of our clients have doubled their therapy margins or more in the first year. Quality measures go up. The quality of care goes up. Your patients will actually get seen and their needs will get met. And one of the things I love to do in initial engagement with them or initial phone call is just say, here are some data points you can go check and see if I'm right. Your long-term care utilization should be between 30 to 40%. And here's how you can find out that answer. And they'll come back to me and say, we're only 15%. I'm like, see, your patients are not getting the therapy that they need. So being able to reach out to them with those key metrics. And I think the third thing is really helping senior living communities successfully open their own home health agency. That's really where the tie-in comes between home health and senior living for us. We do help standalone agencies as well, but one of our niches is helping senior living communities successfully implement a home health program on campus and take back that quality of care and enable them to do a few things. It enables them to serve the needs of the residents on their campus. First and foremost, that's their number one thing. But it also lets them start to serve the needs of potential future residents that are still living out in the community that don't need senior living today. And it helps to build brand loyalty 5 and 10 years before the patient needs senior living. It also helps that senior living community expand and add new revenue lines without having to add real estate. And traditionally, senior living, the only way to add revenue is to add real estate. So it gives landlocked communities opportunity to expand and grow. So those are the three focuses we really have as we look forward into the next 6 to 12 months with our clients.
Melissa Brown, ladies and gentlemen. Melissa, if people want to find out more about you, see what you do, where should they go?
You can feel free to find me on LinkedIn, tune into our Gravity Healthcare Hacks podcast, or check us out online at gravityconsulting.com.
We'll put all the links in the description. One thing I can say for sure is that you've gained at least one new connection on LinkedIn out of this interview. Me, I've just added you.
Love it.
Melissa, thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great to be here.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time. How